as athletes, I was a former athlete. I got great respect for the amount of work that you put in, to become who you are. And me and Coach, we go back a couple of years, and, I got great respect and admiration for what he's done and what he represents. And also, I'm a man of, that might be jumping. Set it on fire in a minute. But, ultimately, man, I want to apologize to you all because I knew I was supposed to be here earlier in the year, and some things got jammed up. I was coming from Baltimore with the Ravens, and some things got shifted a little bit, and I didn't make it. So I want to be the first to apologize to you face-to-face for that. But real quick, by show of hands, real quick, how many of you all love what you do? All right, you can put your hands down. Would anybody mind sharing with me the feeling that you get behind doing what you do? And for example, just to let you know where I'm coming from, right? So when I played over at UT, I loved it. I considered it a privilege. I had great reverence and respect for it. But every time I got in the tunnel and I was about to run out into Neyland Stadium, it was always an emotional experience for me. Just about every time I got into the tunnel and I'd be standing there with my teammates, I would almost cry, or I would cry, because it was emotional for me. Not that I was running out into a stadium and it was over 100,000 fans. It wasn't that. It was an emotional experience because every time I stood in the tunnel, I thought back and I reflected on the process and what made me the individual that I was at that time, and what got me to that point: the dedication, the commitment, the hard work, the accountability, the responsibility, and ultimately the people that came into my life and challenged me as a man and pushed me and got the best out of me and saw things in me when I couldn't see it myself. And so when I went out and I was on the field and in between the lines, I was playing for something totally different. And so would you all mind sharing with me just the feeling that you get behind what you do? Because I ultimately believe everything we do is attached to a feeling, right? It's like that quote that says, a person may forget what you do, but they will never forget how you make them feel. So would somebody mind sharing that with me? Whether it's love, brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever the case may be. Yes, sir. Pride. Thank you. Anybody else? Satisfaction. Yes, sir. Anybody else? Rings. We need big rings. Got a big team. We need a big ring. Yes, sir. And that's a good one, too. Rings. Let me get two more from up in here. No, y'all got it. Y'all got those. Yes. Opportunity. One more. Privilege to get to play. The reason I asked that, I'm gonna backtrack for a moment. I have a foundation in Atlanta, right? And me and my wife, we've adopted 3 homeless shelters, right? And so we work with homeless people and their kids, things like that. We feed them, we clothe them. And when I got injured September 9, 2006, 10 years ago, I was in a position to where it was a possibility that I was going to the NFL. I was playing football at a high level. I could run, I could jump. My football IQ was through the roof. I was as strong as I'd ever been in my life. I was playing a game of football, and I wasn't thinking. I was reacting. A cat could come out in a certain formation, or by his first 3 steps in his route, I knew it was a couple of things that he can do. Like I knew the game of football. I had studied it so much, and I got to that point to where it was a possibility I was about to make it to the league, and I go out and make a tackle that I could make in my sleep. And I found myself in a situation to where, you all know, I was in the emergency room. I'm lying in my hospital bed. Mother comes in, kisses me, prays for me, tells me, son, everything will be fine, you'll be okay. And as she's going to walk out, a doctor is running in from the opposite side, and he says, hey guys, get in here. We got to rush your kid back to emergency surgery. He's about to die. I said, die? I said, yeah, man, I hate to tell you, busted up subclavian artery in your chest. You're bleeding internally. We got to rush you back. Take the main vein out of your left leg, plug it into your chest in order to save your life. And by the grace of God, when I woke up the next day, it was strange. Because my thought process was so different. I didn't ultimately think about, man, it's a strong possibility I'll probably never play the game of football again. I didn't think about, man, will I be able to lift weights? Will I be able to work out? None of those thoughts crossed my mind. More so, it was a level of conviction attached to my thoughts. And what I mean by that it was a level of conviction, so much so to the point to where I said, man, Inky, what are somebody going to say to your son and your daughter one day? Like when somebody just come to your kids and say, man, I remember I saw your father in the 8th grade, he could dunk a basketball. In the 8th grade, I remember I saw him, he came down, fast break, dribbling a basketball, playing point guard. I saw him rise up, dunk a basketball. I remember I saw your father when he was 165 pounds. He bench pressed 325 pounds over at UT. I remember I saw your father playing, like, was that just going to be the rap for me in my life? Or will somebody go to my kids and say, man, I remember when I fell in hard times, and your father and your mother, they came down to the homeless shelter, and they sat across the table from us, and they fed us. I just have to believe that will make much more of a difference in my children's life than me dunking a basketball when I was in the 8th grade. And so a couple of weeks ago, I'm with a 15-year-old kid, because we work with teenagers as well. So with a 15-year-old, he hadn't seen his father since he's been born. So he's acting up, he's acting out, giving his mother problems, giving the teachers problems. And, I could look at him and I could tell he was a jelly bean, right? He's hard on the outside, he's soft on the inside. I could see it, straight jelly bean, right? And so I take him downtown Atlanta, where I was born and raised, downtown Atlanta. So I take him under a bridge. And so we're standing under a bridge, and as life is happening, you got Turner Field where the Braves play, you got the arena where the Hawks and the Dome with the Falcons, you got the World of Coca-Cola, you got all these successful companies, you got people going to work, got their briefcases, got their suits, you got life happening, and then under a bridge, you got a grown man asleep on a cardboard box like he's sleeping in a king-size bed, knocked out. And I look at the kid, and I said, do you think he planned to be here? Kid, nah, I don't think so. I said, what do you think happened? I said, I know you can't speak to it specifically. I know you can't say, Inky, he made this decision or this choice and it led to him sleeping up under the bridge. I said, but ultimately, what do you think happened in his life that led him to sleeping under a bridge on a cardboard box in broad daylight? He said, I don't know, Inky, what do you think happened? I said, I think life happened. He said, life? I said, yeah. I said, as a matter of fact, I think if you'd have caught him at a certain point in age in his life and you'd have went into a room, you'd have said, man, do you love what you do? I guarantee you his hand probably would have went up. I don't think anybody is born into life, they just don't want to become anything. I think at some level of life, everybody is excited about something, everybody is passionate about something, everybody is dedicated, committed to something. Like everybody has a driving force that gets them up every single day, and they go at it, and they go at it, and they love it. But what happens is adversity comes to visit people. Opposition comes to visit people. Challenges comes to visit people. And what happens is when the adversity and the challenges and the opposition comes, it tests people so much so to the point to where the people realize about themselves they don't want it as bad as they thought they did. That's why I love adversity, because the thing that adversity does, adversity reveals true character. And more times than not, when people face adversity, I don't even think they're mad at the adversity, coach. I think they're mad because the adversity reveals the true content of their character, meaning who they really are. That's why Martin Luther King's quote says, don't judge a person by where they stand in moments of comfort and convenience. You judge a person by where they stand in times of challenge and controversy. We see it every single day. We see it over at UT, and I love UT. Started our first couple of games, we're doing well, we're skating by everybody, things are going great. But when we hit adversity, we started going south, and we started going south really quick. Even though our character was intact early in the season, we hadn't faced that type of adversity. And so how do we prepare for the adversities of life? Because 75% of life is going to be great, but it's that 25% that breaks people. It's that 25% that leads to people sleeping up on the bridge when they had goals, dreams, and aspirations to do something great, when they would have been a great athlete at one point or another in their life. It's that 25% that comes along and it just breaks people and makes people give up and makes people don't want to live life and makes people get up and they just don't want to execute on any. It's that 25%. And so how do we prepare for that 25%? Knowing that 75%, most of the days you get up, things are going to go great. You're going to have some great times. You're going to win a couple of state championships. Everything is going to go great. But it's the process of things that we do which mold us into the individuals that we become. And what I mean by that is always ask kids this question. Can you be committed to the process of what you do without being emotionally attached to the result of what you do? Because a lot of us, we're externally driven. Meaning when we got something that we're aiming for, when we got something that somebody dangles in front of us, we can go for it. But what happens when you get what you want? As a matter of fact, what happens when you don't get what you want? And you work hard, you sacrifice, dedicated yourself, stay committed to it, but it doesn't pan out the way that you thought it would. Are you going in the tank? Are you going south? Are you quitting? Are you not giving the effort that you thought it was? Like, the most valuable lesson that I've ever received in my life? I've never been the most talented. I've never been the biggest, never been the fastest, never been the strongest, never been the most brilliant. But when you play against me, I'm going to test your character to the depth of it. I'm going to test you as a man. I'm going to test you to see what you're really about, and I'm going to push you to the limit in every single aspect of it. Never been the most talented. But the reason I can push people the way I push them is because at an early age, my mother gave me a valuable lesson. She said, you're not going to go throughout life being a coward. I said, what are you talking about? She said, you're not starting and stopping. She said, you can never come to me and say you want to quit something because you don't like a coach. She said, you can never come to me and say you want to get out of the class because you don't like a teacher. You can never get involved and start something and you get along the process of it and it's not what you thought it was. And you come home and say, I want to stop because the process is not what I thought it was. Everything you start, you will finish it because who you become as an individual is way more important than what you acquire as an individual. You see a lot of people, they acquire a lot of things, but they're on the inside, they're hollow. They don't possess nothing. And so the first sign of challenge, the first sign of adversity, they quit, they break, they give in, they surrender. I admire character because character will take you places that your talent will never take you. Work on your character. Don't just work on your talent. Work on your character. Work on when you tell somebody something and you look at your teammate and you tell them, I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm going to give you everything I got. Hold them accountable in such a way that I love you and I hold you accountable and I expect you to do the same for me because I understand the spirit and the mentality and the level of drive and dedication and commitment, the process of what we're doing is going to one day transcend our sport. And what I mean by that, one day we'll be able to extract the things that we've learned from our sport and apply it to other areas of our life. You know the way I got hurt? That wasn't even my God. People don't even know that. That wasn't my career-ending injury. That wasn't even my God. I had my God. Locked him up, faded with him. We was in quarters coverage. I'm fading down the sideline. My teammate was getting beat. And I saw him getting beat. And when I saw him getting beat, I came off of my guy. And when he caught the ball, I went up like a missile and I tried to take him out. And it just so happened when I hit him, felt as if every breath in my body left. Body went completely limp. Ended up getting a paralyzed right arm and hand behind it. Do I regret it? Not one bit. Would I change it if I could? Not one bit. ESPN called me one day and they couldn't believe it. They called me, I picked up the phone, they said, is this Inky Johnson? I said, last time I checked, I'm Inky Johnson. They said, if this is the same guy that said, if you could change your injury and what happened to you, you wouldn't. I said, absolutely. They said, it's our understanding that the game of football meant a lot to you. I said, it did at one point. It's our understanding that you grew up in a two-bedroom home, 14 people. I said, yep. It's our understanding that your family was banking on you making it to the NFL so you can change their way of life. I heard your uncles are in prison. Your family members sold drugs. You know they were in gangs, did all this stuff under the sun. So they were really banking on you making it to the NFL. I said, yeah, that's right. And so you wouldn't change that today if you could? So I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world. They said, why? The character that it built. I'm a father now. I got a 5-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter and a wife that I got to lead. Like when you're leading a team, that's one thing. But one day when you grow up, you got to lead a family, you can ask the grown men in the room. That's a totally different ballgame. And you can't ride the emotional roller coaster and think the kids are going to eat. The kids can't eat excuses. And so when I talk to young cats, I talk to you from every aspect of life because I want you to get it from every aspect of life. And I see a lot of kids, they miss the boat on the spirit that sports can create and the platform that's been provided. They don't appreciate it because they don't understand what can be created if you go at it the right way and what you can do with it if you go at it the right way. And what I mean by that is the moment you realize how you do anything is how you do everything, you're onto something. And what I mean by that is if you quit once, it's 9 out of 10 times you're going to quit again. You make an excuse once, 9 out of 10 times you're going to make an excuse again. But I'm going to tell you the problem with it. Here's the problem. You can make an excuse at this level. You can quit at this level. You can surrender at this level. It might not affect much, right? It might affect some of you guys. It might affect you to a certain extent, which is all good. But one day you're going to make an excuse, and one day you're going to quit, and it's going to bring somebody you love great pain. And there's nothing worse in life than a person paying for the mistakes of other people. I never cheated, man. And you know the reason why I couldn't cheat? Like young cats come up to me all the time, they say, "Yo, you telling me you never cheated?" And I say, "So you telling me you cheated?" Like I was taught that's the worst thing a person could ever do, is look in the mirror and lie to themselves. Like I was taught that's the worst, like that's the worst thing a person could look in the mirror. Yeah, I did good today. No, and I really didn't give everything I had. But ultimately, the reason I couldn't cheat is because, like when I ask you guys the question, and at the beginning of seasons and at the beginning of your life, and when you have goals, dreams, and aspirations, and you really want it, and you raise your hand about it, or you write it down somewhere and you see it every day, whether you got a journal, whether you got a locker, whether you got somewhere that you see it every single day, and you really work for it, and you dedicate and commit yourself to it, and you give everything you got, and it comes time for it to manifest and happen in your life, and you've given everything you had to it, and it doesn't turn out or pan out the way that you wanted to, you can say, man, all right, what's next? I gave everything I had to it, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. What's next? But what you can't do as a person is beat yourself. What you can't do as a person is continue to self-inflict and expect some results that you really didn't work for. And that's what a lot of people do. They say, man, this is what I want. Then they start working for it, and along the process, they hit a challenge, and they don't want to face the challenge, and they try to skate around it, never understanding if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. And it comes time for it to manifest, and they've cheated and shortchanged along the way, and they expect a result that they haven't worked for, and the grind and life will never give you something that you haven't worked for. And most people go throughout life and they expect things that they haven't put in the work for. And life will never give it to you. But ultimately, if you're going to go at something, go at it. Understanding that if I lock into the process of it, if I do the process of it right, just the process alone is going to mold me into the individual that I need to become. I can never quit and I can never stop simply because my spirit knew I wasn't a quitter. Every day I go at life the way I go because we all, as individuals, we all represent something. And what I mean by that is, we got to get to the point to when we're a part of something, the name on the front of the jersey represents just as much as the name on the back of the jersey. When somebody see our core, I guarantee you, they think something. When somebody see our core, I guarantee you, they probably thinking state champions. When somebody see our core, I guarantee you, they're thinking legacy, history. When somebody see that, they think something. Just like when somebody see you, they think something. We've all seen those people, when we see them come, we say, man, here comes this cat. Know he's crying about something. Know he's about to make an excuse about something. Then we've all seen those people to where when they come, like, man, I need some of you, bro. What's up, man? How you doing? How you feeling? I need some of that energy. I need that spirit. We all represent something. You know the reason I go at it the way I go at it? My arm just like this and this sleeve every single day because I know when somebody look at me, they think about never giving up. I know when somebody look at me, they think about conquering. I know when somebody look at me, they think about victory. I know when somebody look at me, they think about perseverance. I know when somebody look at me, they think about a warrior. And every day I'm going to go in my life and I'm going to approach it that way. In everything that I do, not just one thing. I don't want to become a public success, but a private failure. Meaning you do one thing well and you're great at it, but every other area of your life, you suck. Meaning you don't go into the class and give the same energy and the same passion that you give to the weight room and give to your workouts. How can we challenge ourselves and push ourselves to the limit to where in every single thing we do, we give that energy, we give that passion, we give that dedication, and we give that commitment because we understand we're creating something greater than what we're involved in at the time and at the moment. We're creating something greater. We're creating something so one day when we approach it and we hang up the cleats, we hang up the basketball shoes, we hang up the cheerleader uniform. When we hang it up, we all gotta hang it up. But when we hang it up, we walk away from it and we still gotta work out. We still got a level of dedication. We still got a level of commitment. We still got a spirit that's unbreakable. My arm and my hand is paralyzed. My heart isn't. My mentality isn't. My spirit isn't. My dedication and my drive is. I've never expected something that I didn't work for. Never have, never will. Every single day, the only thing I need is for the sun to come up and for my eyes to open. And breath to be in my body. That's it. I don't need anybody to promise me nothing. I don't need anybody to dangle a reward in front of me. I don't need anybody to say, hey, you go hard, you'll get this. I wake up and I'm flat out going to get it. Because I understand this about life, and I hope you do. Every single day, somebody is relying on you, just like somebody is relying on me. And you know how most of the world live their life? They're selfish. And they approach situations and they approach people, and the only thing they think about is what can I get from this situation? What can I get from this person? How can I use this? That's the only thing they think about. And so if you're a selfish person, you can only be selfish for so long before life reveals your character. Life humbles everybody. But when you're a selfless person, you're a person of character, you're a person of integrity, and you live your life the right way, and every single day you get up and you put out and you give everything you got to everything you're a part of, you serve as a blessing and you illuminate everywhere you go, in every environment you go into, everything you do, you illuminate, and people want to be a part of it, and people want to be close to you because of what you represent. I represent something. When people see me, they think something. That's why the first thing I asked you, I said, what's the feeling that you get behind what you do? What's the feeling that's attached to it? Whether it's passion, whether it's pride, whether it's brotherhood, what's the feeling that you get? And the thing that I want you to never let happen is to let life take your feeling. Because every single day, life is robbing people. Robbing people of their peace, robbing people of their passion, robbing people of their zeal, robbing people of their happiness, robbing people of their commitment. Every single day, life is making people quit. Life is taking people 12 rounds like a person is in a boxing match. Life is just heavy. People trying to get up, life is just countering until they just give up and surrender and say, man, I quit. Then there's those of us that show up and we say, life, man, you can throw how many blows you want to throw. You can hit me wherever you want to hit me. I know you cut me 6 times down my left eye, 1 time across the left side of my neck, 1 time across the right side of my neck, twice through my right ribs, cut out my right pec, bottom of my armpit, bottom of my hand, 350 staples in my body, bandaged me from my neck to my knees. This ain't lip service. I got it for life, if that's all you got, you in trouble. You made me mad. If this was your best blow, it didn't even penetrate. Because I lived my life a totally different way. And I'm going to leave you with this. You know, Navy SEALs came to see me when I got injured. I went through 2 major surgeries. After my first surgery, a group of SEALs came to see me. They brought me a coin, and the coin said, complete the mission. And also they started telling me the story about their training and how they work and what it leads up to. And the guys are telling me about this thing called, all of their training leads up to this thing called Hell Week, right? They said Hell Week, it breaks the baddest of the bad, strongest of the strong, smartest of the smart. Like guys show up, they look the part, you know, they look like Tarzan, play like Jane, you know, those type of cats, right? Got the draw on muscles, to practice All-Americans, you know, those type of cats, right? They show up, they do their thing, they look good doing it. Say Hell Week breaks the baddest of the bad, right? I said, so if Hell Week breaks the baddest of the bad, I said, I know it doesn't break everybody. I said, I know there's some cats out there that's real deal, authentic, thorough, and they make it through Hell Week. They said, yeah, there's some that make it. I said, so what's the difference? I said, what's the difference between a guy that trains and he quits and he surrenders during Hell Week and a person that doesn't and they make it? I said, because I know they probably go through the same training, right? Extensive training, they probably go through pretty much the same thing. I said, what's the difference between the cats that don't surrender in the water, in the ocean, and the cats that make it to the shore and they're standing there like, yeah, I made it, let's do it. What's the difference? They said the difference is this thing called the power of other. I said, what's that? They said the power of other is the cats that don't make it, most of the cats that don't make it, everybody that hang around them, they don't make it. Most of the cats that quit, everybody that hangs around them, they quit. Most of the cats that surrender, everybody that hangs around them, they surrender. They said, but the cats that make it, the people that make it to shore, the people that don't surrender and don't quit, they said they have this thing called the power of other, meaning the people that they stayed accountable to, the people that they stayed responsible to, the people that they train with, the people that they work with, their accountability partners. When one of them have made it and the other one is in the water trying to make it and he gets tired, they said when he goes to sink and he's about to surrender, they said the power of other, just by looking at the other person, they come up out of the water and they persevere. The power of other, just by looking at it. Because they made a vow to something that was a lot greater than themselves, the power of other. Just by looking at the other person that they made a vow to, just by looking at the other person they were responsible to, just by looking at the other person they were accountable to, just by looking at the other person they trained with, they sweated with, they bled with, they cried with, just by looking at the other person, they rise up and they make it. The power of other. And so I have to leave you with this. Who's the power of other in your life? Because we all got to be accountable to somebody. And when I stood up here and I said, I'm talking about love at the foundation of everything we do. And when I say love, I'm talking about you love them enough to tell them the truth. You love them enough to set them straight if they're off track. You love them enough to push them and get the best version of them out of them. The power of others. I had it in my life, and I know you got it in yours. But at some point, we got to stand up and we got to be that example. And we got to be that power of other to other people. That's my time, young people. I wish y'all nothing but the best. God bless y'all, man. I love you. Thank you.